Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Tuesday, January 31st edition of our video devotionals, and we appreciate you being with us today. And here we are at the last day of January. I know it's hard to believe. We say it all the time, how fast time flies. We've already going to finish up 1 month of the year 2023, and the rest of them will just keep rolling on. So whatever the good, the bad, or the ugly was in January, then let's just take and say, you know what, this ends this month. We begin a new month in February, and we'll learn from whatever we needed to learn, and we'll take with us the things that we need to take with us into the new month, and just make it the best that we can. And then, of course, it's Thankful Tuesday. And let's take some time to be thankful to God. In fact, today in our devotion here, we'll talk a little bit about that. And so our next step here, of course, is to read from our Today book. And today being January 31st, here's some entries that we have. It says in 1797, the birthday of Franz Schubert. If you're a piano player or you work with music, you would understand and recognize that name. 1892, the death of Charles Haddon Spurgeon. In 1950, President Truman ordered the development of the hydrogen bomb. And then in 1958, the first United States satellite was launched called Explorer 1. And you think about satellites today and all that's done and the technology, how well advanced we are. But someone had to do these things to get us to the point where we're at today, even just in the idea of that satellite. You know, the first computers, as you look back here at my monitor here, I've got a computer here. And our smartphones are really kind of like a computer. And you think, if you look back and see pictures of the first computers, they covered an entire room and all that went with it. And what that room could do, my smartphone probably can do, and then some. So all that to say, thank the Lord for the people who have kind of blazed the trail for us to give us what we have to this day. All right, so we're going to be in Leviticus chapter 1. We begin a new book today. We'll be in it for some time. And we're going to be in chapter 1, and we're going to be looking at verses 3, 9, 13, and 17. So those 4 verses, and give you something that I believe will be of help to us. Otherwise, thank you who watch. Thank you for the interactions. And let's be in prayer for people as we learn about situations and people that are in certain situations. You know, in a lot of these cases, this will be lifelong for them. So I know sometimes, you know, the initial things that happen, like the passing of a loved one, and then as time passes, we don't necessarily forget it, but our minds become filled with other folks and other things. But let's do the best we can to remember folks, and remember, just like you and I, as we look back at people that's in our life and they've gone on. And you know, they say time heals. It certainly, as time goes on, the pain so much is not there, but you know, we still miss people, and we still have something to look forward to with heaven. That's the great thing. When we're going to see our loved ones that are in heaven. All right, so Leviticus chapter 1, verse 3 says this: If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it, and I have this phrase underlined in my Bible, of his own voluntary will, at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. All right, then look at verse number 9. But his inwards and his legs shall he wash in water, and the priest shall burn all on the altar to be a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire. And notice this phrase, of a sweet savor unto the Lord. Verse 13. But he shall wash the inwards and the legs with water, and the priest shall bring it all and burn it upon the altar. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire. And again, here's the phrase, of a sweet savor unto the Lord. And then the last verse there of chapter 1, verse 17. And he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire. And again, this phrase, of a sweet savor unto the Lord. So here's what we're talking about today. You know, this being Thankful Tuesday, and here's a phrase that you've heard before that's been coined, an attitude with gratitude. An attitude with gratitude. When I was in 5th grade, I remember on the first day of school, they brought in a teacher, I think it was. It wasn't our regular teacher, but someone came in. I'm not sure who they were, and I think it was a lady. And of course, when I was in school, at least when I was in elementary school, you know, we had those chalkboards. I don't know if we even had dry erase yet, but we had the chalkboard. And everybody's familiar with that green chalkboard and the chalk, of course. and we would come and write up on the board, and do problems and so on. The teacher, of course, would write things down there. But I remember there was a day in which it was the first day of fifth grade, is what it was, and whoever it was, the speaker, I guess, was there to motivate us. That's what it was about. And they wrote on the chalkboard, "Attitude builds altitude. Attitude builds altitude." They went on to say, if you're going to fly high and use all the illustration, you're going to have a great year this year, then your attitude is going to determine it. And I believe that. So when I look here in the Bible, that first of all, it said when you bring this specific offering here, and of course there's so many details that went with these offerings, and we're certainly not going to get into that, but just so many things, and very detailed in the way they were to be done. But it did say here that if you were going to bring this burnt sacrifice, it said of his own voluntary will, that voluntary will, that attitude that says, I bring this voluntary. I've not been coerced to do it. I want to do it. I'm doing it of my own free will. And there's a real great attitude that we should have when it comes to serving God. We do it certainly by choice. And just like when you got saved, no one forced you to get saved. If you did not believe on your own with your own free will, then you didn't make that decision, because it's not your decision. You would be coerced into making it. So we got saved by our own free will. You understand that. But in these sacrifices, this bringing something to God, this offering, then it was of their own voluntary will. And then 3 times here in this chapter, it talks about this sweet savor unto the Lord. You know, I think about this illustration. Sometimes people will ask you, they'll say, what's your favorite this or that? All right. Here's one that's often asked: what's your favorite dessert? And sometimes people can answer immediately. Some people think like me. I like a lot of different desserts. There's some I enjoy maybe as much as the other. But I suppose if I had to pin it down to one particular dessert, I think it would be coconut cream pie. And suppose someone asks me that and says, okay, well, that's interesting. And you thought, well, they just, I wonder what theirs is. And maybe we had that discussion. And then a few days later, you find someone bringing you a coconut cream pie. Now, there's a reason why they ask that. They ask that because what's your favorite? And they want to show appreciation. And the way they do that is to find what would you like best? And I could certainly eat banana pudding. I could certainly eat a chocolate pie, and I could start going down through the list. But when someone asks what's your favorite, what they're trying to get to is that they want to bring you something that would bring you probably the most joy, or you'd be the most excited about. And certainly when it comes to desserts, it's kind of that way. You know, the month of February is with us tomorrow. We've got Valentine's Day. And I think one of the favorites of anybody that you give as a gift on Valentine's Day is chocolate. Chocolate, of course. And it's something, and you do that because you want to show that appreciation and that love. So the same thing with God. There was things that were given to bring a sweet savor, so God would enjoy that. And that was the purpose of that. Not just to be coerced or say, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. And here it is, God, take it or leave it. No, the sweet savor idea there is for us to say, God, I want you to enjoy this. I hope it's something that brings pleasure to you. And that was the purpose of that. So I hope you understand where we're going with that. Let's serve God certainly with cheerfulness. You know, the Bible talks about the cheerful giver, cheerfulness, excitement, love, adoration, appreciation, and of course, this being Thankful Tuesday, just showing great thanks to God. Well, we're going to stop there. Hope you have a great day today. Be safe and healthy and all of that. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.